We don't love each other. We love hate. We hate love. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Harley Neville.
And I'm Guy Pigton. Who was that with that genius
Profound
lyric?
lyric. That was David Gunn from the band King 810, or from his one of his side projects, maybe his side project called Yavid, which is his side one. So it's one of those two. It's either King 810 or it's Yavid, but it's the same singer, David Gunn. Check him out. King 810. They're from Flint, Michigan.
So why did
Murder Town? They call it Murder Town.
What did they call? Why does the other one called Yavid? Is it some guy with a Y to begin with and David?
Well, his name is David. His name is David Gunn, and then so presumably, well, I'm not sure. I mean, why is Ye called Ye?
Because it's Kanye.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, no, I don't know. Yavid, or Yavid maybe, but that's maybe that's like the traditional Jewish or version of David back in the day, back in biblical times.
Yep.
Just guessing, just spitballing here, spitballing. But welcome along to the show. It has been a little while since our last episode. Not to worry, we're back now. We're getting back on the wagon, back on the podcast wagon. So what's been going on for the last month or so? I mean, luckily now, last time we did a show, it was dry July. But luckily now, it's alcoholic August. So I'm back off the wagon.
I'm just drinking me on the other hand, I'm just drinking a Red Bull.
A nice healthy Red Bull.
Sugar-free.
Yeah.
Sugar-free. Watching my weight.
Yeah. I'm watching my weight too, watching it balloon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm speaking of that. I've just been editing. So we put together a vlog. Well, I recorded a bunch of stuff from our trip to Amsterdam, which is really what sent this podcast off the wagon. Was that trip?
Yeah,
ruined the podcast. Podcast was never the same again. It never recovered.
Yeah.
But basically, so I was vlogging our time there, and I'm just getting near the end now. We've finally got to the point where we're heading home in the vlog.
Yeah.
And I every time I do a little bit of editing, I'm dumbfounded. I'm awestruck by how fat and old we both look.
Yeah.
I'm really taken aback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially you.
Especially me, looking real fat.
Well,
real
I'm just like not old, fat.
Fat.
Because I'm just like, because Harley is the skinny one of the two of us, right?
I've always been the skinny one.
Yeah, he's always been the skinny guy.
Yeah.
And so the idea that there's this portly man and these videos, I'm like, this shit don't add up. This shit don't make sense to me. Which is kind of funny. And in fact, obviously we do remind our viewers of it as well. You were like, because there's a new section on it in the new vlog that I just put out, and you were sitting on top of a playground, and you go, I call this one fat tourist in a playground.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
But also accurate.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a concern because I watched those vlogs as well.
Yeah.
And I was very unhappy with what I saw.
Yeah.
I was disappointed
Visually,
in myself as a
from
human.
an aesthetic point of view, you were not happy.
If anybody wants to watch the Savage Filmmaker vlogs, go along, search the Savage Filmmaker on YouTube, or in the chat, I've just put a link in the chat to go to that channel. So go check those out if you want. You can see us in our fat glory. The thing is, when we do the podcast, I don't feel like we look really that fat.
No.
And it's because it's from front on. And same with when I look in the mirror, I'm like, there I am, a sprightly young lad, a thin, thin,
svelte,
agile, sort of lean is how I think of myself when I look in the mirror. Because from the front on, I look quite skinny, I think. But then when I see myself in your videos, it's from a different angle. It's from the side, and it's
Sobering.
like, oh yeah. Yeah, I really got to work on that. But the good news is I am working on it. I have been seeing a PT, personal trainer, 3 times. I've got my 3rd one coming up, and then I've got to start paying full price for it, unfortunately. I got a deal. So I'm going to work off that winter weight, winter 2020. It's been ever since I hurt my back and then went into lockdown for 2 years in my depressing flat and didn't have a gym membership. And that was really where it all went wrong for me. So yeah, but I'm back on the wagon. I've rejoined the gym. I've been going quite regularly. I'm working slightly harder than I used to, and I'm going and seeing a PT once a week or so as well. So, well, to be honest, it's probably once a fortnight because it's $69 per visit. $69 per visit, and he does like a 1 hour workout, and he works my ass off, sure. But normally I go to the gym for 1 hour and it's free. So
yeah,
you know, and he is telling me to do stuff. He's making me work harder than I would normally. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I think the trick is going to be though is to cut back on the beers and the shitty food. And I'm just not sure if I'm mentally prepared for that yet.
Well, that's the hard part.
I took a month off drinking in dry July though. Shouldn't I be skinny by now?
Well, I think the thing is you didn't take a month off the food.
Well, I don't eat that much bad food. You know, like I like probably I'd say 30% of what I eat is bad. 70% though, pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's just the ratio's got to change as you get older.
Yeah.
The ratio's got to, so the ratio used to be 80% bad food, 20% good, and it didn't matter. You're fine. 4 toasty pies for lunch, no worries. Problem. Easy. Couple of mince pies, couple of cheeky mince pies, whatever.
Wash it down with a V.
Doesn't faze me. And then, obviously, that shifts to like 50-50, and then 60-40, and then now you're at 70-30, and what you're discovering is that 70-30 doesn't cut it at 39.
Cut it anymore,
And so now it's got to shift probably
50-50.
I was going to say probably 10-90.
Or 70-30 the other way.
10-90 good food.
Yeah.
90% good food, 10 or 15%. And that's the hard part because you know, as you get older, food is one of the few joys that you have in your life.
The few joys that are left to you.
and so you're like, look, I'm you know, I may be an old fat man, but at least I can afford to buy this nice food that tastes nice. And then people come along and tell you that, well, if you want to be not fat, then you can't have that nice food. So it's just one less joy in your life and a very limited pool
of joys.
So yeah, and I also did have a conversation with someone, which I think this is very true, which is essentially like the fatter you are, the harder it is to get rid of the fat. So what I mean by that is that if a thin person has a real shitty meal or a shitty week, he can fight back from that very easily. Whereas if someone is fatter, that does it's like 10x or 5x damage in an RPG when someone's cast a spell on you. The spell being old age has been cast on you.
Old fatness. I cast old fatness.
Yeah, I cast old fatness on you. Yeah. And so essentially whenever you eat something bad, it does 5x or 10x damage. And the fatter you are, it could do 20x or 30x damage to the attempt to not be fat.
Okay, but what about the flip side of that?
Yeah.
Where a fat person is carrying around more weight, therefore every step they take burns more calories than a thin person because they're physically E equals MC squared, right?
Yeah.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You walk your fat ass to the dairy, it costs more calories, takes more energy than a thin person. So you burn twice as much.
But also your body is now conditioned to storing fat. Yeah. And your body is also
chuck it on the pile.
Yeah, exactly. And your body is also, your metabolism has slowed down. And so, yes, that is definitely true. But
plus, you're walking to the dairy to buy a pie.
Those other things probably mitigate the extra work that you do.
Yeah.
But particularly the metabolism thing, and also, that idea of like all that stored fat. It's just going on the pile.
Hey, shout out to Christopher Davis, famous esports commentator. Chris Davis, he is watching the show right now, so shout out to him. Also a colleague and friend of mine, so shout out Chris. Thanks for tuning in.
What are you esport?
The esports, so I'm not. Maybe he'll chime in the comments and tell us exactly what it is.
What games is he esport?
Well, he's not playing; he's commentating.
Yeah.
So I think he can commentate any. Depends on the sport, depends on the day what they're playing, I guess. But I guess like World of Warcraft and FIFA. I don't know. That type of thing.
It was probably like Fortnite and
Fortnite, yeah, maybe. Shout out to Con Reynolds on the live stream as well. Good man. He hit like. If wherever you are right now, make sure you hit thumbs up or like or subscribe. that all really helps us. So yeah, shout out Con, and shout out Chris, and let us know, Chris.
Shout out the con man.
Yep, the Con man.
Con man's in the building.
Yep, and Big C Davis. And also Tyler Adams as well on the live stream. Good man. Tyler Adams, who has gone on to bigger and better things. He used to just edit the highlights on the Guy and Harley podcast. Right. Now he's creating amazing looking dragons for the Viva La Dirt League guys. Yeah. Visual effects for the Viva La Dirt League guys. He's moved up in the world.
Sometimes you gotta cut ties, trade up.
He realized he was back in the wrong horse.
Yeah.
Well, I am curious if Tyler heard about Viva La Dirt League through this podcast. I want to know. Did he hear about this Viva La Dirt League through this podcast, through his connection to Guy and Harley, or did he just stumble upon that himself independently? I'm curious about that.
They've just got a new studio.
Yeah, a new full-size studio, a big, massive...
Several $1 million worth studio. Looks pretty cool. But we've got our own studio.
Shout out to Ben Fowler as well, who's also working with Viva La Dirt League.
Yeah.
We're going for a beer next week.
We've got a smaller studio here.
A diet beer. Yep, but we do. We've got a studio. We're cool. Shout out to Jason P. Diddy Combs. Thanks for coming along. Been a while, Jason.
It's most of the time he's gone to bed by this stage.
Yeah, must be drunk.
So I'm glad that he's glad that he's still up.
Must be up and drunk. He must be watching from the bar again. That's my guess.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh,
Jason,
yes.
Did I say Jason Coombs was working for them? He says, I'm not working for those guys.
No, we said Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler.
He's drunk.
And Ben Fowler as well.
So, Tyler, I got a call from another Tyler.
Tyler says he did learn about Viva La Dirt League from us. So do us a favor, Tyler. Next time you're chatting to the Viva La Dirt League guys, make sure that Guy and Harley sent you. Say that Guy and Harley sent you.
He doesn't speak to them directly.
Well,
he
speaks
to the no, he doesn't.
The PA.
He speaks to the secretary. The assistant to the general manager.
Yeah.
There's a wall.
Yeah.
No, he probably does speak to them directly.
Yeah.
I have no idea. He will fill us in. But yeah, I got a call from a Tyler early yesterday morning.
Yeah.
And this is the thing about being a very famous and notable person, is that people assume that you know who they are.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the reality is we know like 4 Tylers.
Yeah.
Quite well.
You're like Tyler the website creator.
We've got
Tyler the VFX creator.
Yeah.
Don't know if there's more.
There's definitely one other. There's Tyler from that band.
Mbop Hansen.
No,
Tyler Hansen.
Tyler.
She was hot.
What's the Tyler that does Tyler the Goblin? What's his name? Isn't he a Tyler? Isn't his name something, or is it just something the creator?
You mean Tyler the creator, the rapper,
Tyler
the famous,
the rapper.
Famous rapper?
So there we go. So we got.
You mean
Tyler? I'm a goblin.
Yeah.
I'm a goblin.
Yeah. Is that one of his lyrics?
Yeah.
Right.
Genius.
Yeah.
I'm a goblin.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
He's maybe create something else.
His stuff's pretty good, actually. Shout out to Tyler the
Such
creator.
as
He is
I'm a goblin.
Yeah.
So anyway, we know a lot of Tylers, but it was Tyler the website creator. Oh, we also know a Tyler.
He loves calling. He loves calling at random times.
At 9:30 in the morning, which is too early on a Saturday.
Well, calling is just not really, like texting
it's never on.
Better.
It's never appropriate.
Email. Couldn't this be an email?
Can we not have the? Can we not have this conversation?
No. Shout out to Tyler.
So,
good man.
So he called through. He was like, "Hey, it's Tyler," and I was like, which one? But I was like, okay, how's it going?
Yeah.
I'll figure this out as we talk.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, any chance you and Harley could come and cameo in a 48-hour film thing today?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like...
Natalie Kluwer is involved with that.
I was like, look, I don't want to speak for Harley.
But hell no.
But I think Harley's working and I'm working and we just really don't have time.
Yeah.
And he was like, how about tomorrow? And I was like, same, my friend. Same, my friend.
Yeah.
So I do apologize, Tyler. Obviously, he was hoping to get us in. Now, what he should have then pitched, which he did not, and I actually thought of this afterwards. He goes, well, can you shoot an insert of you and Harley and then I'll just cut it in and send it to me?
Yeah.
And I would have probably gone, yeah, we can probably do that. Because the idea would be, because it was something to do with multiverses.
Yeah.
And so they entered into the Guy and Harley multiverse. And so it's just us there. So if he just cut to someone opening a door, and then we just cut to in the studio looking and going, hey, can we help you? And then he goes, oh, no, sorry, and closes the door. Done. We don't have to go out to Rewa.
Yeah.
Which is where he suggested Which was not feasible.
Well, I got asked by 2 different teams if I could act in them, but both of them were on Friday night. Now, one of them was Alan George. Famous filmmaker, Alan George. Well established, and always does really well, and has won various prizes in the 48-hour film festival. And in fact, in the film one of the films I acted, I've acted a few times in 48 hours for him, and on one of the occasions, I got nominated for Best Actor, which was pretty sweet. So I got a fun role, and then acting across from Gwen Taylor, and then I got nominated as Best Actor.
That was the one about memories.
Memories.
So you were like someone's going into a memory chamber and had to remember something like that?
I can't remember. I remember being in a video store.
Right.
I remember being in a video store. But so anyway, it was a good film, and I got nominated for Best Actor, which was great. And then my name and face were put up on the big screen in a sold out cinema, and I was nominated up against Adam King from Viva La Dirt League. So neither of us won, sadly. But yeah, so it was really good, and I totally could have would love to work on another one with him, because he's very likely to actually do pretty well and get somewhere with his film. But it was just a bit short notice. I had stuff to do on the Saturday. I had some bits and bobs planned. For example, I've got to do a bunch of course prep because apparently I'm a teacher now, which we can talk about in a minute. But
that's one of the things. I said, when is it? Next weekend or in a couple of weekends? And he was like, it's today. It's right now. Yeah. Start driving. And it's like, no. You've mistaken us for you go through phases in your career.
Yeah.
And like there is a phase in your career, and I vividly remember this phase, where you're kind of making things and you're trying to get people involved in the things that you're making. And you're always trying for that, and you're also always submitting to places and people and producers, and you're always kind of pitching and doing all these things, and you're always trying to set up meetings and stuff with people that might be able to help you or further your career. And inevitably, you have this sense of like, why is no one getting back to me? Like, why is no one talk? Like, why does it take? Why did they respond a week later to my email? They should have responded to it like half an hour after I sent it, shouldn't they? Why has no one read my script? Why has it been 3 months? My script's still not read. They said they're going to read it. They haven't read it. And what you realize when you become slightly more successful is that you just become really, really busy, and all of these things are like just kind of. You're in the slipstream, right? And things go into the slipstream, they're right past you. And then someone will come back, remind you 3 months later, you go, oh yeah, that's right, I've got to get onto that. And so it's not a matter of like, it's not an insult to you, and it's not like that they don't even want to help. It's literally that their time has become so sparse that it's very difficult to make happen quickly and easily, which is why, for instance, if you've got a 48-hour plan, you go in a month in advance, hey, you want to be in that? Because on the day, there's a 99.9% chance that they've got like 5 different things booked in for that day. Even if it's a weekend, which at least for me makes absolutely no difference to my work. Like, it could be a weekend, it could be a week, hell, it could be the day, it could be the night. There's absolutely no guarantee that on any one of those things there's some special free period that I have anymore. So, and that's the other thing. Oh, you didn't read it over the weekend? I work all the way through the weekend.
The weekend's my busy time.
That's when I'm ramping up.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of that. So I think, with Tyler and that sort of thing, I hope he doesn't feel put out that we couldn't make it, but it's just one of those things where it's like, man, I've got like 7 things scheduled. Like when we finish this podcast, as you may be too, I've got to go back and write a bunch of course stuff for next week.
Yeah.
As in Monday, as in tomorrow.
Right.
And even this podcast, I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that because I've actually got all this course stuff that I have, been trying to write.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. You just get busy.
Yep.
Just busy is all.
Just busy. Yeah. Well, the other person that asked me was Angie Sanchez Villar,
Angie number 2.
Yeah. Imitation Angie.
Yep.
She is the a director of photography and gaffer, I guess. and other camera assistant and other stuff like that. And she asked me as well, but it was the same deal, really. It was like, well, here's the thing. I'm kind of, it's a little bit short notice for me. Don't call me the night before. I want to the week before. I was talking to Ashley Pittman, another director. He had a plan, and I was like, okay, I could probably act in your one, because he mentioned it, a month and a half ago. But then his team ended up kind of falling over. And didn't happen. So I was like, whatever. I've got other shit to do anyway, so that's fine. Jason P. Diddy Combs is double penetrating us. He's signed up for Twitch, and now he's watching simultaneously on Twitch and YouTube. That's the way to do it. That's what I'm talking about, people.
40 tabs in YouTube is the way to do it.
We've got 150 listeners, 150 loyal Sifty 150 listeners, and if each one of them had 2 accounts and watched 2 at a time, well, that's 300 views. Yeah, but, good. Thank you, Jason. Very much appreciate that. Very much appreciate that. Now, I have been working my ass off. First, I was doing the overnights on the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
So I was working overnight, Commonwealth Games, 2 a.m. until 10 a.m., which was pretty nasty. Because you go to sleep at night, you go to sleep in the morning, you don't know your ass from your fucking elbow, basically. And then I also, at the same time as I was already booked for that, and then I, out of the blue, landed a job, which I mentioned in the last episode, that I am now going to be a lecturer at the very same polytechnic, which is going to remain unnamed, to the very same polytechnic that you're at.
That's right.
Which is quite hilarious because... I'm not really qualified in any way to be a teacher, and I have zero experience. My experience of teaching or with teachers was just being a little shit, for teachers, just being difficult for teachers. That's my experience of teaching. So I'm on the other side. I'm on the receiving end of that. And I had my first class last week. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just Harley Neville'd my way through it, basically, and it went pretty well, and they seemed like a good bunch. But the staff were, I was being shown around and introduced some people, and my heart sank a little bit when I was introduced to somebody who's a digital media person as a digital media specialist. They're like, well, Harley, he's a digital media specialist. I was like, ooh, really, I was like, more like digital media special needs, like I shouldn't be teaching this course. I should be doing this course.
Yeah.
Well, I need to learn this course.
You've gathered some valuable things from the lessons that you were meant to teach prior to teaching them. When you looked at the lessons, you're like, I've learned something.
I've learned heaps of stuff.
I'm really learning a lot on this course that I'm meant to be teaching prior to me teaching it as I prep for the teaching.
Well, that was part of why I said yes, to be honest, as well, because I was like, well, the great thing about this is it's going to force me to learn a whole bunch of stuff that I need to learn and should have learned years ago anyway.
Yeah.
It's a good chance for me to learn, a lot of it is like Photoshop and these types of things, which I've used Photoshop a little bit for my jobs over the years, but I haven't like sat down and been trained in it and sort of start at the start and, here's the beginning and here's the middle and here's the end. I haven't really had that. So this job has forced me to learn that, which has been really good and quite exciting and pretty cool. And I assume that if it goes well this year, which I guess it will, then there'll be some work for me next year. And they seem like a bunch of kids. They're all 16, 17, and they seem pretty motivated, like they actually want to be there, which is presumably is half the battle. And they call me Sir. I told them to call me Harley, but they call me Sir. Do your ones call you Sir?
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
Some of them call me Mr.
Mister
will come into play occasionally.
Yeah. Well, I've never been a sir in my life, but I quite liked that. It was pretty cool.
So it's the closest you'll ever come to being knighted.
Yeah. Getting called sir by some teenagers. Yeah. And so I got them last class. I got them to create some memes, some Guy and Harley podcast memes, and had some quite funny ones in there. So I'm going to post those on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Guy and Harley. I'm going to post them as an album because I told them I would. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested.
Tyler asks, how's the anthology horror material coming on? Well, Tyler, it's coming along.
No, we had a good meeting the other day with the Film Commission, and basically we need to apply for funding. When the funding rounds open, we need to apply for some funding rounds. They're not open yet, but at the end of August, there should be one of them will be open, which we can apply for. So, it's progressing. We're gathering scripts. We've found some good scripts. We've got a few different really good scripts now, and we've got a plan to apply to the Film Commission to see if we can get some funding. And if we can't get some funding, well, then we have to do it the good old-fashioned Pigville way, shooting in the backyard with our own time and money.
Easy.
So, yeah. So that's where we're at with the horror anthology.
So I wrote I myself and Imi wrote a script, and then we got a script from someone else, which we thought was really good for this anthology. And then I got about
He's a 5150 listener. Shout out to Guy McDougall.
And then I got halfway through another script with Imi, which again I think is actually going to be really good, but the issue is that the criteria for the funding sort of requires us to have kind of more fleshed out feature ideas potentially, which means that we've slightly shifted focus to creating some material around the sort of the bigger movie ideas rather than the singular short ideas, which we already have in place. So the deadline, or not the deadline, I believe they open. No, actually, one deadline I think is in September, and then the other one is going to open around that time because we're midway through August already. So we're sort of just prepping like kind of overall synopses and things for that stuff, and then there'll be an even bigger application, a giant mammoth application that will take an incredible amount of time to complete, no doubt. But the other things,
but it'll all be worth it.
Well, of course, it is worth it if they give you $90,000. It's and it sort of could still be worth it if they don't, but you just really fleshed out and developed one of these good ideas into a place where you can continue to work on it. So it can be worth it. It can be.
It might be. We'll see.
It may be.
We'll let you know. Shout out to Jizahausen on the live stream. He says it's a brilliant idea to outsource your social media posts to your students. I know, right? That was my logic.
Slave labor, they call that.
Child labor. Child
slave labor.
Child slave labor.
Yeah.
I have joked with them about that, and I've told them, like, in fact, I'm setting up a plan for next week. They've got to create a sort of a logo. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm just going to delete what the old sort of course outline said, and I'm going to replace that with Pigville logo. So next week I'll have them making some nice Pigville logos for us as well.
Love it.
So yeah. And Tyler Adams still wants to hear about that sci-fi flick, and he'd love to do some proof of concept shots. Well, can you remind me which sci-fi flick we're talking about here?
That's Imi's one that she wrote 3/4 of.
Yeah.
And I've read probably half of.
Yeah.
And it seems cool, like a cool concept and stuff. It seems, like a good idea. The problem is that when she pitched it to me, she was like, yeah, it's real contained. It's real, like it's a real contained story. It's just some people on a ship. And I was like, perfect. People on a spaceship. We just cut to some VFX stuff outside from time to time. Got a bit of green screen in there. But it's basically just this one spaceship. And all this shit happens on the spaceship. And I was like, that's great. And then I started reading it, and it's like, fade in on a Blade Runner-esque mecha city with hover bikes and things shooting past the,
Tyler can do all that.
With a giant, the supreme leader waving on a banner on the front of a building.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's the contained bit? And the contained bit is like 20 or 30 minutes in when they actually get on the spaceship.
Right.
But it is a pretty cool concept. So, you never know.
Is it a feature or a short?
It's a feature. It's a feature. But it's quite cool. Like, essentially the very basic premise is someone so androids work on ships, they're the slave labor on ships, right? And a real human impersonates an android to get on this specific ship, and so she behaves like an android and does a whole bunch of stuff, cosmetically to look more like an android. And then we don't know the exact reason why she's there yet, like why she wanted to get on the ship, and what she's done. But it's a cool concept. I'm just not. It's the budget that concerns me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the budget that concerns me.
Oh, shout out Joanna Sequa on the live stream, who's just hit like. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Now, did she hit like on the Twitch stream?
I think that's Facebook. I think that might be what happens when you hit like on Facebook. So do us a favor and head on over to YouTube. Get our view time up over there. Speaking of helping us, we need the listeners' help because in 2 days, on Tuesday, August 16th at 7 p.m., we are having a screening of Older at the Kingslander, and it's going to be a fun, casual event in a bar. We're going to screen the film and then do a little Q&A afterwards. That's the plan. Now, the big issue we have is that all of our friends have already seen the movie. So it's a little bit of a hard sell to be like, hey, do you want to buy a ticket to come and watch a movie, not in a cinema? You've already seen it in a cinema. Now you're going to watch it like in a bar. Come along and watch it in a bar with us.
If people are talking in the bar while the movie's going on, what's the protocol?
No, because the bar is downstairs, so we've got a space just for the movie. So it's not like
hurl abuse at them. Is that the protocol?
No. It's like upstairs in a separate space, so you don't have to worry about that. But it is, it's a much more casual vibe. It's a projector. It's
there better be no talking.
Oh yeah, well there'll be no talking. The director will jump in.
Exactly as I was saying. I'll
yell
leap
at
up,
them.
I'll pause it.
Yeah.
I go, who was that?
Who was that? Did you cough? Did you cough?
Is someone having a chat, are they?
Yeah.
This took me fucking 7 years. Show some fucking respect.
Show some respect.
7 years.
Well, we need the help of the 5150 listeners. I've already posted the link on the Facebook page, facebook.com/GuyAndHarley. Why don't you go ahead and buy a ticket? That would be great if you could go and do that. Go and buy a ticket and join us because last time I checked, we had sold 7 tickets. 7 tickets. There's a bit of a concern.
Do you know those 7 people?
No, not all of them. Luckily, a bunch of them, or some of them, were from I know some of them. I know about half of them, but some of them were from posting in Facebook groups, like filmmaking Facebook groups and so on.
Yeah.
Saying like, hey, come along. We'll tell you all our secrets about how we got distribution and, going to Amsterdam and all of those types of things.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dottie Pie in the live stream. She's missed us. Well, we missed you too, Dottie Pie. Woot, woot. So, yeah. So, yes, do us a favor. If you're in Auckland, come along on Tuesday to the Kingslander, have a beer, watch a film. The link is on the Facebook page, facebook.com/GuyAndHarley. I'll be posting it again over the next few days. If you don't have Facebook, go to eventbrite.co.nz and you can see and just search for older film screening with Q&A. You'll find it.
Yeah, also, just a note on that.